What is going on, everybody? Welcome to NFL Live Before Lock, round two, the Sunday Night Football edition. I'm Eric Lindquist, excited to be talking a little bit of the game we have before us, the Colts, the Cowboys. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell as we get going. It goes a long way for us on this video. And you guys like us, right? I think you do. I think that's why you guys are hanging out here. I can tell you one thing that I like is my friend Neil Orfield over there, Player Q DFS on Twitter. I can tell you something he doesn't like: razors. How you doing, my guy?
Yeah, I had a little bit of a shaving mishap yesterday, as I was telling you. Normally, I shave. This is the length that I try to shave my head to. Of course, I put that on my razor and immediately went right up the center of my chin. So there was nothing I could do unless I want to do like a crazy Fu Manchu or something. I had to keep it short like this. So hopefully another week it'll be back to bearded. But I guess I'll live with this for now. Sounds like you've been having a pretty good day in DFS, other than Treylon Burks kind of screwing you.
And the Browns at 2%, putting up 30. But then my highest owned defense just scored, the 49ers. I have the absolute stone cold nuts. Oh, Tua, questionable to return. Maybe that's just because they're down 16 against the 49ers with no time left. I'm not going to read too much into that here at the moment, but maybe I do buy a share of Teddy Bridgewater in the old Rainmaker streets. But I would make fun of you for your razor mishap. But here's the thing. Jordan Klein knows this, producer Jordan Klein here on the last second fill-in. Jordan Klein, I will say, the master of disaster here at Stokastic, but in a good way, meaning that he handles it well. I may or may not have taken a razor that I had gone down to a little smaller spot where I was trying to get the edge of my eyebrow. And last year, I slashed right down the middle of it, and I wore glasses for 2 weeks. Do you remember this? Because I know you used to watch Once Upon a Time. That is how I got the nickname Slash. So I can't really make fun of shit.
I didn't know that your nickname was Slash.
Yeah, well, that became like the thing in chat for a long time. So Loco still calls me Slash all the time. A lot of people still call me Slash. It goes, whoosh, whoosh. And so I wore glasses trying to I had to make the admission. I had to come clean because it looked ridiculous.
Yeah, it was.
Loved it.
Yeah. Did we ever find out, man? I'm trying to remember what you had something going on with your face, and you were going to tell us a story if we got a certain number of likes, and then it never got there on that show. And I don't think we ever. Now I'm trying to remember. Was that the same thing, or am I thinking of something different?
I don't think so. Duke, he's like.
Eric had a bruise on his face.
Oh, that's right, the bruise on the face, and never shared it with us. The story.
I might have shared it with Jordan Klein.
Okay. I never heard the story.
I like to do bad kid things with my friends. It's fine. It was fun. Sometimes, you get a little rowdy. You get hype in the club, and then is what it is,
Yeah, I hear you.
What do you think about that, Jordan? You're the only one who knows the truth.
I think people would be surprised to hear the reason why you got it, to be honest.
All right. Well, if we get enough likes, here's the thing. I don't think they would believe me even if I told them the story. The thing is, you believe me because you know me and know that I'm capable of certain things. I don't know. Those internet trolls, they're just so funny until they're not.
I heard you've been on a blocking spree.
I have. I went on a blocking spree yesterday. It was so much fun.
Both on Twitter and on YouTube, from what I'm hearing?
Both, yeah. Well, some people don't deserve to have a voice when they just say whatever they want. Having free speech doesn't mean that you can't be judged for the things that you say.
That is true.
Just is what it is. Look at Kanye. Deserves to be judged for what he's saying. Let's get to it, shall we? Excited for this football game. That is for damn sure. I'm especially excited to be with the master of disaster when it comes to Showdown. That is you. You handle the muck very, very well. We got a couple of pieces of news that I was tracking here beforehand. Trayvon Diggs going to be active for this football game for the Cowboys. That is very, very important for them. Other things to kind of note, we do have Michael Gallup. He's good to go. That was one piece of news I was paying attention to. Anything else from the inactives that you wanted to make note of for the people?
No, I was just looking at the inactives, and I did not see anything that really stood out to me as important. I think we've got everybody playing who I would consider playable. Kiki Kuti out, I guess. I don't know if you're planning on playing Kiki Kuti. He's not playing.
Always.
Yeah, nothing all that interesting.
Kiki,
no Sam Ellinger.
Do you love me? Are you riding?
Yeah.
Do you know that song? I bet you don't.
I don't think I know that song.
Cool. Hit the like button, everybody, especially because Devin Davis says, less chatting, boys, more talking about this shit game. You could not have put that a whole lot better, except for I don't think it's that shit. I think it's pretty fun from a building perspective, at least for DraftKings.com. I built a couple lineups on FanDuel too, so I can talk about the blue site. Once again, hit the like button as we get going. And yeah, anything else? You just want to dive right in?
No, so this will be a different show for me because I did not even prep my fantasy cruncher before the show. I think the only lineups that I played tonight, I'm going to be entering on my phone during the show. So probably just a handful tonight. I was not feeling all that well. I actually just before the show was in the shower. Yeah, I've been having, my wife's been really sick all day, and just like within the past couple hours, I've starting feeling a little bit under the weather as well. So I've just been didn't bother getting my fantasy cruncher set up. So I'll be hand building a little bit here, but not playing a ton.
I'm sorry, baby. I'll take care of you. I'll take care of you. I'll treat you right. Let's get to it then. We start with the quarterback position. We go position by position on the show, as you can see in the lovely left column there. We'll talk a little No House Advantage, our lovely sponsor of this program, and so many other great programs here at Stokastic. But from a quarterback perspective, we have Matt Ryan there going up against this Dallas Cowboys defense. Did you know Dallas first in preventing against the pass, first in yardage given up to opposing quarterbacks, 177.7 per game. Much more apt to get to running backs, and specifically Jonathan Taylor here from the Colts side. But Matt Ryan has to be discussed because it does feel like on some of these slates, people just don't play the quarterback as much as they should when it's a defense that stands out, that definitely isn't a good spot like Dallas is tonight. How are you kind of looking at Matt Ryan in the tools tonight?
Yeah, Matt Ryan looks fine. I mean, he looks very neutral to me. Just he looks a little bit overowned in the captain spot. 5.4% projected ownership, 4.8% chance of being optimal in the captain spot. Util, we've got him again neutral. 32.8% projected ownership, 33% neutral. So about as neutral as you can be. Yeah, I mean, he's a quarterback on a one-game slate. That's kind of the best thing I can say about Matt Ryan. He doesn't really bring any rushing upside, but he's gonna be throwing the ball a bit. It's a terrible spot against this Dallas defense, but again, it's a one-game slate. I wouldn't consider him on a main slate. On a showdown slate, though, he's going to be about 40% owned overall. That's about my level of interest as well.
Yeah, I don't even know if he ends up being that popular, and especially, I mean, on FanDuel, look at this. You have Dak at 16K. You have Jonathan Taylor at 15. Matt Ryan's at 14.5, and yet I have Lamb, Pollard, Pittman, and Zeke projected near that. I mean, Zeke, I have projected just barely under. Lamb and Pollard and Pittman, I have projected over what I have Matt Ryan projected for. Looking at our tools, we've got Matt Ryan right around 13.7 on DraftKings. I mean, that isn't your typical quarterback projection on any slate.
Yeah, no, he does not project well at all. Again, I care more about what the tools tell me than what the actual projection is, right? Because it kind of gives you the range of outcomes and the likelihood of hitting a big enough score that you need. I think it's a better indicator looking at the boom bust tool or the single game tool than the actual projection. So, I mean, just looking at the boom bust, he looks like he's, neutral. Like 40% is about how much you should have of Matt Ryan in either the captain or the util spot on DraftKings.
Yeah, now we move over to the Dallas side where I think Dak Prescott, he makes the more intriguing captain option. You obviously can put him together with the running game. You can put him together with a number of pass catchers, and most of them are attainable outside of CeeDee Lamb, who, oh boy, are you going to be paying the freight for him on DraftKings tonight? But in our tools, Dak Prescott, 5.4% of leverage in the utility. In terms of the captain optimal, a little bit under-owned, more than 1% there, 12.7% captain optimal ownership percentage. We've got 11.6% for him. One, would you rather play him in the captain or the utility in one lineup? And two, do you plan on being over the field on him?
Sorry, are we talking about Matt Ryan or
Dak Prescott? We've moved on. Matt Ryan is a thing of the past.
I mean, I love him in both spots. Dak Prescott, I think I prefer him. I mean, he's one of our better, more positively leveraged captains. So, I mean, I like him in both spots. I'm probably going to, as I hand build a couple lineups here, I'm going to put him in both spots. He's probably going to be in a good number of my lineups. We've got positive leverage on Dak in both the util and the captain spot. In the captain spot, 13.4% projected ownership, 15.2% chance of being optimal. I like that positive leverage on a player that, has a pretty solid floor, I would say, as far as players in this game, pretty solid floor. And then, of course, we know that Dak has the ceiling. And then in the util spot, we've got him at 48.5% projected ownership, 52.2% chance of being optimal. So we've got positive leverage in both spots. Honestly, I don't think you could play it wrong. If you're playing Dak Prescott, you can play him in the captain, you can play him in the util. If you do play him in I think either place you play Dak Prescott, I'd like to have at least one pass catcher with him. I think that in the util, I'd prefer to have two. He doesn't have like massive rushing upside. So I'd prefer to have two pass catchers with him in the util, but in a 150 set, I'd play a handful. I probably wouldn't force at least two, but I'd probably have probably not more than a handful where it's Dak with just one pass catcher if he's in the captain spot.
I know a lot of people tune in and watch these shows. I'm going to go back to the first part of my question. I think this is something that I've tried to focus on, is that some people maybe play DFS a little bit differently than you or I might, even though, making 150, having as many lineups as possible. I think that's both of our strategies a lot of the time. I am trying to get better at the 3 max and talking about single entry. So if somebody's at home making one lineup, would you rather have Dak Prescott in your utility, or would you rather play him at captain according to the tools?
In one lineup, it's a really good question. I think that he's certainly.
I know it's a really good question. That's why I asked it.
He's certainly viable in one lineup in the captain spot. That might be just the first place to go. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense to go to Dak Prescott in the captain spot in one lineup. Yeah, I think maybe I'd go there to start in the captain spot.
I think I would too. I'm only making a handful of lineups tonight. That's kind of why I bring it up. In my main lineup, I do have Dak as the captain. I think he's the most positively leveraged guy in the utility. There's a little bit of correlation between when you look at our tools for the leverage score for Dak there in the utility optimal. I find it very likely that the captain optimal percentage, that the captain ownership does not get out of hand here. I think a lot of people look at Tony Pollard and want to play that. I have a lot of Tony Pollard exposure in like Rainmakers and other things, so I don't have to go crazy here in this spot. I do want to get a little bit more Dak exposure. Definitely somebody who stands out for me. Matt Ryan, oh boy, it's so hard to imagine that I'm going to captain him in 10, 20 lineups. Is there any interest you have there?
Matt Ryan?
Yeah, to captain him.
Yeah, I mean, he's negatively leveraged in the captain spot. Again, I think I'm with you. Like, I wouldn't play Matt Ryan. He's not one of my 5 favorite captains. I probably wouldn't go there in 5 lineups. In 10, I might start considering it. If I'm playing 20 lineups, I probably have at least one Matt Ryan captain lineup. But yeah, he's not my favorite captain on the board. Doesn't have he has negative leverage.
Okay, Thomas Lopez, you can go to the outer realm forever.
He wasn't. I don't think he was insulting us. I think he was insulting the game. I could be wrong, because he was asked how many interceptions will Dak throw tonight. I think he was saying that he's out on Dak.
I will unhide him immediately. There you go. See, this is why it's good to talk. I'm just in that mood right now.
I might be wrong. I mean, maybe I tend to, yeah, we'll find
out very, very quickly. Yes, Neil Goat. That I agree with. Kickstart Obi-Wan. LOL. Yeah, he has a statue. I don't know what you're talking about, but I know what I'm talking about when I say that BetMGM has the best promo going ever, and I think it's still live. So bear with me here. Bear with me. I think today you were still able to sign up at BetMGM, which is in the link, the video description box below. You click on the link to BetMGM. You put $10 on any money line in the soccer streets. Yes, in the World Cup streets. Put $10 on any money line that exists. Tomorrow's games, we've got, let me pull it up here, Japan and Croatia, Brazil and Korea. I gotta think that we're looking at Croatia and Brazil. Just saying, put $10 on the money line of either one of those, and it doesn't even matter how they do. You're going to get $200 when a goal is scored. And hey, in the round of 16, a goal has to be scored because you're going to go to PKs and then a goal is awarded through that. So you're guaranteed to get $200 right now. I would be taking advantage of that instantly. Yes, instantly take advantage of that. Deposit $10, you get yourself $200. This guy agrees with every damn thing. What? Eric, sheesh, bro, chill. Oh, I'm doing great. I'm in a great place. I'm just having fun. And he does not agree with everything. Trust me, Neil Orfield has been very adamant at times when I am incorrect on things. We'll see what he thinks about Jonathan Taylor if we're on the same page here. But it is going to be really difficult to get away from a healthy Jonathan Taylor on this kind of a slate, considering one, We've seen some of the passing game work start to ramp up. 4 targets the last 2. Going back to week 7, 8 targets. I think it's better to have Matt Ryan back there than Sam Ehlinger. Sorry, that experiment didn't go well. Go Horns or something. I don't know, whatever they want to say. And now you got an opportunity where Dallas, you definitely have to get it done on the ground as opposed to through the passing game. I talked about it. 24th in rushing defense, 131.9 rushing yards per game on the season. How are we feeling about Jonathan Taylor on today's slate?
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Taylor, has to be one of the better options. That you have to play somebody from the Colts, right? I think Jonathan Taylor is certainly viable, looks better for us in the util than the captain spot. In the captain spot, he looks pretty overrun. One of our bigger negative leverage spots, 14% projected ownership, 8.5% chance of being optimal in the captain spot. So some very negative leverage there for Jonathan Taylor. It's obviously a tough spot against this Dallas defense, but in the util, he actually looks okay. 40% ownership, 42.5% chance of being optimal. So I like Jonathan Taylor quite a bit in the util spot. Not one of my favorite places to go as a captain.
It's hard at 10K, and then you think about a lot of people are going to be building 4-2s, 5-1s going the Cowboys direction. He will, even at 10K, be the preferred guy to get in there. He has the highest projection. It's wild to see him priced just $400 away from teammate Michael Pittman over on DraftKings. On the blue site, there's at least some separation considering Jonathan Taylor's all the way up to 15K. Pretty wild to see that compared to 13K for Michael Pittman. That's kind of the power of half-point PPR, I assume, but wild to just see a $400 difference. I think that in tournaments, you could see Michael Pittman come in a lot lower owned as a result. We shall see. Again, that's more of a gut thing. I look at the tools, and there's negative leverage going to Jonathan Taylor in both the captain spot and the utility spot, but certainly that captain spot, almost 5%. 5% difference between his captain ownership and optimal percentage. I don't know if I've ever seen that on one of these shows.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see that over owned number on Jonathan Taylor. I've probably seen it before, but yeah, it definitely does not come up all that often. So yeah, definitely a spot where I prefer him in the util spot. Of course, he's Jonathan Taylor. We know that he can go for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns and be the optimal captain in a low scoring game. Certainly something that could happen, which we see that with the 8.5% chance of being optimal. It is certainly doesn't happen all that infrequently, but he's just going too high owned relative to his odds.
Yeah, he's going very, very high owned. Ancillary options. Once upon a time, there were a ton of running backs from this Indianapolis side when you had Naheem Hines in the room, Deion Jackson. With Jonathan Taylor back and healthy, is there anybody that really stands out? Do you want to take shots on Deion Jackson? Is Zach Moss somebody in your player pool? Feels like you're asking for a Jonathan Taylor injury to get there.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough to want to play anybody other than Jonathan Taylor. In the last game, Jonathan Taylor played 92% of snaps. Deion Jackson played 6%. Zach Moss played 2%. This is where it would help to have Fantasy Cruncher at least pulled up so I can see what their actual salaries are here. Because I want to.
Yeah, so you got Jonathan Taylor at 10K, and then you've got Deion Jackson at 4,600. I think that's pretty borderline unplayable. If I take a shot on anybody, I might take it on Zach Moss, just with the hope that maybe you see JT or Deion Jackson get dinged up in a spot where it might have been their work. Zach Moss comes in, gets in the box, and there you go. But my God, it is so impossible for me to get to Deion Jackson in 50 lineups or 40 lineups like I'm playing tonight.
Yep. And as I said, I'm hand building a few. I'm not going to be playing any Deion Jackson. I don't think that I would necessarily have any in a 150 set. Maybe I'd have a few. I think that, the paths for Deion Jackson to get there, I think it essentially requires an injury or some garbage time. Like, I don't think he's getting there in a normal game script at 4,600. Like, he could pick up a touchdown. He could pick up a goal line touchdown or something like that. But I think that it's pretty unlikely. Just based on his usage in the last game. Of course, in the game before that, he did play a little bit more. He played 13 snaps in the game before, 20% of snaps. So maybe there is, we've only seen 2 games since. No, never mind. We've seen. I don't know if Deion Jackson was active in week 10, but in the last 3 games, he's played 0 snaps, 13 snaps, and then 4 snaps. So definitely not trending in any kind of positive direction. Zach Moss has played a total of 6 snaps, maxing out at 4 over the past 3 games. So also a little bit tough, not somebody who's in the regular game flow, but again, a player. It's easy. It'd be easier for Zach Moss to pay off his $400 salary. I think that he's actually more likely to pay it off than Deion Jackson is, just because one touchdown would be all that it takes for Zach Moss. So say Jonathan Taylor rushes it, 50 yards and gets caught at the 1 yard line. Maybe they take him out, put Zach Moss in and run it in. It could happen. It's a little bit more likely than Deion Jackson, I think.
Yeah, even Deion Jackson in that exact same scenario, does the 7 points at 4,600 get you there? I don't know. It's just that it's very hard for me to imagine that. So I'm going to take some shots on Zach Moss. I can't do Deion Jackson at this number, even though he'd probably be the primary beneficiary of an injury. So there you go. That would probably be it. A couple of super chats here, but first, TCB did say, I've been a little hyped up since this morning. Wow. JK, dude, huge energy for DK. That's all good. Buddy, I'm always bringing it. I don't know what you want from me. What do you want from me? Jordan Klein, you've been with me for this entire ride. You've been up for almost 12 hours now. I got up at 5:30. I mean, it's been 11 hours for me. How are you doing over there?
You're asking Jordan Klein.
We're slowly moving. I'm quickly moving. I got the, oh my. Okay, if you're playing NBA tonight, I have 100% TJ McConnell, which is great because Tyrese Halliburton got ruled out, but TJ McConnell just got ruled out too.
Oh, God, no.
Oh, no.
Are you going to be able to?
I'm just going to play all the Nemhard and all the land. He's point guard, shooting guard, so I'll be okay. But I already was playing like a lot of Nemhard, so I think I'm just going to have to play. I don't even know who the next guy up will be at point guard there. I'm assuming Aaron Nesmith will play some point, but whatever. That's NBA. I know you guys are here for NFL. Just wild. Anyways, John Bryant, $4.99. Hello, you guys rock. We think so too, but nice to get affirmation. Neil, he doesn't care about me. Who are your two favorite Colt players? One of them under 1,000. Oh my. We are going to the bottom of the barrel. So give me your favorite Colt above 1,000 and your favorite Colt at 1,000 or below.
Okay, favorite Colt above 1,000. That one.
I was going to say below 1,000. I don't think the word is like. It's who can I tolerate?
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, do we really think Jelani Woods is going to be this low owned? 11% after the game he had in the last Island game. I don't know that Jelani Woods is going to be that low owned. Man, it's really hard to find a Colt that I love today. None of them look all that great. Maybe Paris Campbell looks like he's actually the rare Colt who's coming in a little bit under owned.
My dude,
3.1%. Yeah, 3.1% captain ownership, 3.4% chance of being optimal, 21.2% util ownership, 23% chance of being optimal at 5,200. I think you could do worse than Paris Campbell. Man, I've been trying to make Alec Pierce happen, and it's just it has not been working out for me. Alec Pierce has a little bit of positive leverage in this game. He was very disappointing for me in the last game. I played a lot of him. I guess he did play. He has played at least 70% of snaps in 3 of the past 4 games, the other one being 65. So he's been actually out there a good amount. I'm kind of interested in Alec Pierce once again at relatively low ownership. I think that he's a pretty talented rookie. He's shown flashes this year. 2.3% captain ownership, 3.6% chance of being optimal. And then 17% util ownership, 17.6% chance of being optimal. I think it actually, maybe I'm going to flip up and go to Alec Pierce, but I think it's between those two as my favorite Colt. Like obviously not the guys that I project the best, but just like for a large field GPP relative to their ownership, I think those guys are the most interesting. And then under 1,000. All right, let me take a look for Colts.
Mm-hmm.
It's not pretty. I'll say that much. Maybe it has to be Mo Alley Cox just due to lack of options.
Mm-hmm.
Ashton Doolin, what did he? I was interested in Ashton Doolin in the last game. He did play 34% of snaps, so I guess it's probably between those two. I gotta say I don't love any of these Colts under 1,000. I'm probably gonna go with the tools here and say that Ashton Doolin a little bit under owned. We do have Granson back at tight end this week as well. I guess that's inactive that we could have touched on, is that Kylan Granson was out in the last game. He is back for this game. So that could eat into Mo Alley Cox just enough that I think I prefer Ashton Doolin at 200. So I think I'll go with Doolin there.
Yep. I'm totally with you. Doolin Pianos, as I call him in my group chat. Don't mind me. Got funny jokes sometimes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I get it now. I get it now. I was thinking that you're like a name, like a brand of piano was Doolin or something. It was just above
Nope.
my head. And then it was like, no, that wasn't above my head at all. Yes, Doolin pianos. I get it.
One more super chat to touch on before we get to the Cowboys running back, which I know will take us a little bit of time. But Eric Traub, 499, Team Eric, give me some flu game Neils nobodies, please. Favorite player under 10% owned in the utility to take a shot on. So group it by the tools here.
Yep.
Who, well, if it's close to 10%, I'll give it to you. But 10% and under that we're looking at in the utility to take a rando shot on.
I mean, if you're going to count close to 10%, I think there's a real chance that Jelani Woods has taken over as the TE1. We haven't projected for 10.9% ownership. I don't think that he's going to be 10.9% owned, maybe because he is up to 4,200. But I think enough people watched that last game and just saw how good he looked, how he's just trucking people. So I don't think that he's going to be quite that low owned, but we haven't projected for 10.9%. I would really like him at 10.9% ownership. Kylan Granson, actually another guy that you could consider. He's actually under 10% owned. He doesn't look good in the tools at all. We have negative leverage, 6.7% projected ownership, 2.4% chance of being optimal in the util. So it doesn't look that great. I think so. If you're going to give me Jelani Woods, it might be Jelani Woods. Man, I'm surprised there aren't any like low owned.
I was going to go Hendershot as well. That dude seems like he is more involved than our current ownership. Like, maybe it's just me. Peyton Hendershot has had some opportunities of late. It just seems like a dude who shows up on the field a lot more than you would expect. For one, a guy named Peyton Hendershot, and two, somebody that I literally didn't know the name of before that Giants game.
Yeah, no, it's a great name, and that is definitely a really good reason to play him.
Yes, name recognition bump in the old fantasy cruncher.
I was going to go with the less sexy name, Jake Ferguson, another guy you could consider, has played 50% and 48% of snaps in the past two games for the Cowboys. I think Jake Ferguson also in play, but both these guys have negative leverage, and we've got them both at 4.5% projected ownership in the util. Hendershot does have a 2% chance of being optimal. Jake Ferguson at 0.9. So, yeah, I think both these guys are in play. They're not guys that I'm trying to jam into my lineups. I don't love them. We actually did you see? I think we had a super chat about the tight ends, about whether we would play all three in the same lineup.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that one here as well. Okay. Jay, $1.99. I have them all here for you. Neil, would you play all three Cowboys tight ends? There you are.
I mean, we just saw that work on Thanksgiving. That's probably where the question stems from, right? I think they all scored touchdowns. Am I remember that? Or maybe
I think it did.
I don't know if that's right. And then they did the jump into the thing and do the fucking. I forget that they did a little game. They did a celebration in the end zone. People know what I'm talking about. They did the
fucking.
I forget what it's called.
The bullshit.
The whack-a-mole. Was it? Did they do whack-a-mole? I can't remember what they did exactly. But yeah, I don't know that I'd like playing all three of them in the same lineup. I just think that the odds of all three hitting is pretty low. I'd be okay with playing two. Dalton Schultz with one of these two. I don't think that I would be likely to play Ferguson and Hendershot in the same lineup. And then, of course, there are actually four tight ends that are theoretically playable from the Cowboys. In the last game, they had four tight ends that played at least 23% of snaps, if you include Sean McKeon in there as well. So they all play a good number of snaps, but I don't think that I would go to all three Cowboys tight ends in the same lineup.
No, I don't think I would either. My God, me figuring out what I'm going to do with this Indiana basketball team is just annoying. Let's focus on the Indiana football team, shall we, Eric? That's fine. But first, we got to jump over to the Dallas side at running back, where the age-old question in tournaments, Tony Pollard or Ezekiel Elliott at their current ownerships, they're only $400 away because DK has a sense of humor today. On FanDuel, it's a little bit more pronounced where Pollard's at 13.5 and Zeke's down to 12K. So at least $1,500 difference there. But I love Tony Pollard as a back. I love him. I just know he's going to almost be double of Zeke's ownership, and I don't know if I can do it. What are you planning to do with the running game from the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, it's really hard to read the Cowboys. So actually, before the last game, what was it? It might have been 2 games ago, where we actually got the news that Tony Pollard was going to be getting more touches than Zeke. So it was like we've been seeing Zeke kind of as the lead back, and then Pollard, comes in, plays 40% of snaps or whatever. Finally, they said Pollard actually going to play more snaps in this game, and this might have been 2 weeks ago. But in the last game, we saw Pollard play more snaps than Zeke as well. I think Pollard is the back that I generally prefer. I think he's the more talented back here, but we have Pollard coming in at higher ownership than Zeke. I think everybody thinks the same thing. Everybody watches the games. They think Tony Pollard is so much better than Zeke. Why would I play Zeke when I could just play Tony Pollard at a similar price tag? But we have Pollard 10.7% projected ownership in the captain spot, 9.4% chance to be an optimal. So slight negative leverage. It's fairly neutral. I think he's totally reasonable captain spot. Probably would be one of my first 5 or 10 captains in the lineup. And then the util spot, though, Tony Pollard looks really great. 39.2% projected ownership, 45.8% chance to be an optimal. I actually really like Tony Pollard in the util spot. I think I'd be more inclined to play Pollard matched up with Dak Prescott as a pass catching option to pair with Dak Prescott rather than Zeke. I think Zeke has maxed out at like 2 catches in a game this year. He's just not involved enough in the passing game. But Zeke, I think, is still certainly viable. You certainly can play Zeke. We've got him at 5.3% projected ownership in the captain spot, 3.3% chance to be an optimal. That doesn't look great. In the util spot, we also have negative leverage, 26% projected ownership, 24.8% chance to be an optimal. Finally, we're seeing him play fewer snaps than Pollard. I think everybody's in agreement that he's not quite as good as Pollard. I think that he's more talented than some people give him credit for. I think that he is good at just continuing to get yards once he starts going down, and he obviously has the ability to score touchdowns, but he's not as good as Pollard, and I would generally rather play Pollard at similar price tags. But that is assuming that our ownership is accurate. I am with you that I have some concern that Pollard is going to be even higher owned than we're expecting. Yeah. Is that kind of what you're thinking, that he's probably going to be higher than 50% owned overall?
Yeah, we saw it on Thanksgiving. I don't know what we were talking about, but I just know that I played all the Zeke and all the land, and I had almost no Tony Pollard. And it had everything to do with that quote, where I think Tony Pollard just ended up getting way steamed up. And I still anticipated Zeke getting quite a bit of work. And that's what we saw. 16 carries for him, 92 yards, and he scored the touchdown. And Tony Pollard coming off of 2 weeks where he had massive plays in the passing game, specifically our Minnesota Viking game, which we're never going to speak of again. Hey, they won today. Go us. Tony Pollard just had some outlier type performances, big plays. Green Bay looked awesome with that long rush. He had both of those catching touchdowns against Minnesota. Regressed a little bit there for him. I just think they're very, very equal in terms of what we're looking at for a snap share. 54 and 59% of offensive snaps now, the last 2 for Tony Pollard. That's not some crazy amount different than what you're getting from Zeke, who's just in the mid-40s there. There's nobody else coming in that we have to be worried about. So if somebody gets dinged up, they're going to play a bunch and you're going to need them. But the chat brings up a great point. And again, this is why we're here. We're talking about these things. There are a lot of lineups you should probably be playing both of these guys. You look at this Colts defense, and they are so good at stopping the pass, almost identical to what you're looking at from the Dallas side. Dallas is number 1 in terms of pass prevention in terms of pass prevention on the season from a fantasy perspective. The Colts are 4th. So that is really, really solid you're looking at there. On the ground, though, 18th in rushing defense, just in pure yardage perspective, 118.3 per game. I got to say, there's a huge case for playing both of these backs. Is that something you're planning to do in hand building out some lineups?
Absolutely. Yeah, I like playing. It's something that I wrote about in my general showdown strategy article. I like having some lineups where you play both running backs from the same team. The field shies away from it certainly more than it should. And it's, if Dallas is having success on the ground against the Colts, they're going to play both running backs. Like we know that both these guys can run the ball. They like splitting carries, and if they're having success, they're probably going to have success with both of them. So I like it a lot. I think it's a great play in a large field GPP. People build their lineups thinking, I think, today is the day. Pollard is the guy. He's going to take over. He's going to, be the guy scoring the touchdown. So I'm going to play Pollard instead of Zeke. But certainly we can see both of them have big games in the same game. We've seen it many times. So I like the idea of playing both of them as a way to get kind of unique. And maybe more people are doing it now than they have in the past, but I still think that it's a little bit underutilized.
You're not playing Malik Davis, right?
No.
Good man. No House Advantage. That is the sponsor of our lovely show here. You guys need to head over there. Just like I talked about this morning, the overlay over on this site is absolutely out of control. In the $15 right now, only 412 entries out of 1,200 in the showdown, 5K to first, That's a pretty penny, especially when you can use promo code Stokastic. Even if you deposit just $15, you can get another entry for free. Yes, another $15 to go play over there right now. We're playing player props. And if you guys are like, hey, I don't really have the time to put in to try to study what's going on, I don't really care about player props, guess what? We have tools that can do it for you. So if you like overlay and making money, which I'm assuming you do because you're watching the show, I'm telling you, you could play the $3 on DK and it could get duped 10 ways, 15 ways, which is a pretty likely outcome. You're going to make more playing the 5K to first than you are playing over on DK today. That's just kind of the way that the math works. So if you want to head over to Stokastic and you want to get free lineups to fire into this contest, you can do that in the NFL tab. We legitimately have the lineups built out for you. We have the tools for free on our site for you guys to take advantage of. So combine that with promo code Stokastic. You can play all of the lineups that you want over on No House Advantage. You basically take the player props. You take more or less on 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You get points according to your confidence level you have. So you obviously want to have your more confident props in the 7-point slot than the next most at 6, so on and so forth. And you can win yourself some massive money with the overlay and the great payout structure that they have over there. So take advantage of No House Advantage right now. And hey, if you don't want to play in the $15, they've got a $5 going right now too. You can deposit $20. You'll get another free 20. You could have 8 entries in a contest that literally has less than 30% that's less than 30% full right now. That $5 1K to first for the Colts Dallas game. Looking forward to it. You guys need to be playing over at No House Advantage and taking advantage of this overlay. They've got great stuff. Even the NBA streets tonight, there's a $15 that is 16% full for the Indianapolis Portland game. I'm actually going to play in that as soon as we get off this show. If I could recommend anything to you, get in that. We have TJ McConnell out. We have Tyrese Halliburton out. Once again, free tools that exist on our site to help you guys win in these contests. Also, if you guys have played at sites like, I don't know, a different one that we have advertised on the site from time to time, Versus the House is an opportunity to play player props in a way where you don't have to put the lineups together. You can take over or under the player props that are listed there. So over under 212.5 passing yards for Matt Ryan. Same thing. You could look at Paris Campbell, 37.5 receiving yards. You could correlate those together and have an opportunity to win some money, up to 21x your money. Yes, 21x. That is better for a 5 out of 5 payout than at other sites. So take advantage of this. Use promo code Stokastic and head to No House Advantage right now. Thank you so much to them for their sponsorship of our beautiful little show. My friend, to the wide receiver position we go. And starting with the Colts side, Michael Pittman is up there, $400 away from that of Jonathan Taylor. If you're going to play Matt Ryan in the utility, obviously there's correlation there. There are times, though, when you could play Michael Pittman as your only wide receiver there. He gets a ton of volume, and then there you go. But I am a little bit worried, not just because Trayvon Diggs is a guy who exists. He hasn't been as good in coverage. He still gets a lot of name recognition because of what he does in terms of interceptions. But I'm just worried about having the coaching staff that Michael Pittman does. We'll put it as nicely as that. How are you feeling about him as a high upside option for tonight's slate?
I like Michael Pittman a lot. So in the past 2 games, has it been just 2 games with Jeff Saturday? I'm trying to know. It's been 3.
2. Yeah, he had 11 targets last game, but also it's Jeff Saturday coaching a football team in the NFL.
It's been 3, right? Because they won the first game that Jeff Saturday coached, and now
and then they've lost 2.
Yeah, they've lost 2. But in those 3 games with Jeff Saturday coaching, 9 targets, 7 targets, 11 targets. So they do obviously understand that Michael Pittman is a stud. Hasn't done a ton with those targets, 7, 6, and 7 receptions for just 53, 75, and 61 yards. But he's Michael. I think he's a very talented receiver. And Trayvon Diggs doesn't scare me from a DFS coverage perspective. He's a guy who takes risks. He's a guy who goes for the interception and sometimes then can give up a big play when he's trying to go for the interception. If he doesn't get it, sometimes that benefits the receiver that he's covering. So, I like Michael Pittman quite a bit. Looking at our tools, we have him slightly over-owned, 8.2% projected ownership in the captain spot, 7.6% chance of being optimal, 34% ownership in the util spot, 34% chance of being optimal. So essentially neutral leverage on Michael Pittman. I think that there is a at least a chance that he comes in lower owned than we expect, just because, as you were talking about earlier, he's just $400 cheaper than Jonathan Taylor. I think Jonathan Taylor is probably somebody people prefer to go to. But I think Michael Pittman's certainly a great play. And if people are going to be afraid, especially if people are going to be afraid of Trevon Diggs, that is just going to make me like him a little bit more. But currently what we're expecting is about 42% ownership. That's about how much ownership he should have, according to our simulations. I think that he's certainly a nice boom bust play that I would like to have in some lineups for a large field GPP.
Jimmy Garoppolo, broken foot.
No, really?
Brocktober is officially in session. Iowa State, let me just say, look at our football team this year and look at our football team last year with Breece Hall and Brock Purdy. I'm saying Brock Purdy is a competent quarterback. He's not going to be a complete zero for the 49ers, but my God, how bad do you run with Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo? Broken feet. I mean, that's as bad as it gets, right?
Yeah, that's a real bummer. That's, they're honestly one of my Super Bowl favorites, I would say, with Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't really know anything about Brock Purdy, so I can't really comment on that. But I really like
Brocktober, baby. It's Brocktober.
Great defense, now a great offense. I mean, they've had a great offense, and they added Christian McCaffrey to it. That's a really brutal break for the Niners.
I mean, it's as bad as it gets. Feel bad for him. I just saw that come through. Somebody put it in chat. It was Miami Mike, of course. It was Jigsaw that would come in and post about a broken foot. He loves his body parts. My God. It's so sad. But yeah, Brocktober is officially in session. I think people are going to realize he's not so bad. He looked all right today. There were some throws that were a little misguided, but for the most part, very competent, and he has all the tools. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, that should help out just about any quarterback that's young that's coming in there. So we'll be paying attention to that one. Yeah, Michael Pittman, he wouldn't be like your priority. There's this tiny bit of negative leverage in Captain Optimal. That's what freaks me out a little bit. Just a 6% Captain Optimal percentage. I think if I'm building one lineup, I'm much more inclined to go to Lamb, Prescott, Pollard. Prescott probably being the main guy, but Pittman for sure will show up a lot in the utilities. Hard not to like a guy that's going to show up a third of the time optimal, even though there's a slight negative leverage there. I don't think there's anything to be said about it. I'm just nervous Jonathan Taylor ends up getting steamed up because they're just $400 away. Same thing that we were just talking about.
Yeah, I think that is certainly a possibility. I would love it if Jonathan Taylor does get steamed up and Michael Pittman then comes in at lower ownership, which I do think is a real possibility, just because people generally prefer Jonathan Taylor. He was a first-round pick in drafts this year. I think he's the bigger name brand. And Michael Pittman, people might have concerns about being covered by Trevon Diggs. Somebody in chat said that they're going to pass on Michael Pittman. They worry that they're not going to be able to get him the ball. I think that's a fine concern. Obviously, he could go 3 for 20 yards, and that could be his game. I just think that, in a large field GPP, he's got the upside for 120 yards and a touchdown or two.
I think that there's a path to Pittman being played as the only guy from the Colts side and in the captain spot. Like, if you do see a game script where it's just on the ground, and the Cowboys can get whatever they want on Indianapolis, which is totally in play. They're 18th in rushing defense. Again, over 118 per game. You have Zeke, you have Tony Pollard. They can definitely get it done. What do you think about a captain of Michael Pittman where you kind of bypass? It's actually harder, I think, on this slate to do it just because Pollard and Zeke in that game script are cheaper. And it's hard to imagine a game script where Pittman gets to 20 and they only get to 15.
Wait, so what was the game?
I'm thinking about Pittman and the captain as a 5-1, where he's the only Colt that I play.
I think it's fine. What, you don't think that Pittman can outscore both Zeke and Pollard?
I mean, he can, but I mean, you would need everything to be split very much down the middle, like we've seen from Zeke and Pollard, and they're both cheaper than Pittman. Like, that's the difficulty to me. Is like, if they were more expensive than him, and I were able to just play him as the one, that would be great. But I don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth on what I want to do in this spot.
See, I think that Michael Pittman has the upside for a 2-touchdown game. 100, get the 100-yard bonus and a couple touchdowns. We haven't seen it a while. He has not actually had the great year that we were expecting coming in, but I do think that it's within, his range of outcomes. So I don't have an issue with it at all if you want to play Michael Pittman in the captain spot in 5-1.
Well, here we go. This is going to get weird. Again, I always go back to that James Robinson script where somehow, some way, he was the captain who was optimal. A little different when it's a pass catcher as well. I think that there's a path for it, though. I'm gonna be toying around with it here in the next 20 minutes. We've got 20 minutes until lock. Hit that like button, please, everybody. Hit that like button, goes a long way for us here. As we jump down to some of the other ancillary options, we talked about Paris Campbell. He's kind of my boy. He became my boy because of Rainmakers. He's had some massive games where his cards were like $15 as an elite card, which is just unheard of. A lot more expensive than that now, but I've since sold him. It's sad, but I'm going to probably get some exposure there. Your boy, Alec Pierce, who I think has some massive upside coming in the future. Yeah, I don't know what to think about it. He's been targeted pretty decently with Matt Ryan at quarterback. I think that that's one of the things where, other than that Pittsburgh game, which was a complete zero, I think we're going to see him have much better days ahead. How are you looking at some of these other ancillary options from the Colts?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Ashton Doolin as a guy who's in play. He played, 30% of snaps? 34% of snaps
34
in the last game. The last three games has been 31%, 20%, 34%. So, I think he did absolutely nothing in the last game. That's obviously within his range of outcomes. It's not like he's playing 95% of snaps, but even if he's going to play 30+% of snaps, you need to play somebody. And, the Colts really might not do much. So I think Ashton Doolin is a guy who would also work in a 5-1 lineup where you're playing all the Cowboys and you play, you need a cheaper guy from the Colts. I think that he could be in a lineup where he gets 6 fantasy points, and that's all it takes to be in that winning lineup for a guy like Ashton Doolin. And then, of course, he's got the upside of scoring a touchdown and actually putting up a decent fantasy score. So I think Ashton Doolin certainly in play as far as ancillary options. So I would rank my favorites as Michael Pittman. I think, Paris Campbell obviously is the wide receiver too. I think that he is the second most likely to put up a big score, but just relative to ownership, it's kind of close for me between Campbell and Pierce. I probably lean Pierce just for the lower ownership. So it's, Pittman, Campbell, Pierce, and then Doolin is kind of a dart throw kind of option.
We got Jamal Parker. Holy shit. Neil Orfield. I knew Eric was on here, but didn't know that was you for a second. You're saying that it's not cool to find out that I'm on this show at some point in time. I'm just saying. I will say, it's amazing having Neil Orfield hanging out here on a lovely Sunday night after he just put, all of his heart, his soul into his Sunday main slate lineups. He comes back and he's ready to get you the goods tonight.
That's right. Doing my best.
AOD, Lindy, we love you, bro. I love you too. That's all. I will love you too. I love all of you. Let's go to the Cowboys side where CeeDee Lamb sits at the top. He is the most expensive player on DraftKings.com. On FanDuel, he is fourth most expensive behind the quarterbacks and Jonathan Taylor, as one should be. But my God, on DraftKings, this is one of those prime spots where everybody wants to get to the running game, and something's got to give because the Colts are very good at stopping passing games, but not so good on the run. But I feel like this is going to be one of those spots where we kind of overthink it and we don't realize how good CeeDee Lamb is as a play. I understand he's going to be a little bit lower projected than that of Dak Prescott. He's going to be right around the same projection as Jonathan Taylor. But I tell you what, I think CeeDee Lamb has a massive game here. I think I want to be overinvested in the captain spot. How are you looking at him as you have to pay up to be a little bit contrarian for this guy in the captain spot tonight now?
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb obviously in play. He's one of the stars of the game. He's one of the guys who has a huge game in his range of outcomes and in his likely range of outcomes. Obviously a lot of these guys can put up a big game, but CeeDee Lamb would be one of the guys who it's not surprising at all to see him have 100 yards on 8 catches and a touchdown or 2. I like CeeDee Lamb quite a bit. He looks like he's slightly better in the util spot in terms of what our tools are telling us. He's a little bit over-owned in the captain spot, a little bit under-owned in the util spot. We've got him at 14% projected captain ownership, 12.5% chance of being optimal. So slight negative leverage in the captain spot. And in the util spot, 43% ownership, 45% chance of being optimal. Slight positive leverage there. He's CeeDee Lamb. He's probably the best. Yeah, I think I like him better than Michael Pittman in terms of just expected raw fantasy points. Like he's the best receiver in the game. He's in a better spot in the better offense and should have plenty of volume. Yeah, I like CeeDee Lamb quite a bit. He is 10,800, the most expensive player on the entire slate. So as you said, you put him in the captain spot, he is going to be pricey, but I think the price is reasonable. Even with the slight negative leverage, we still have him the optimal captain 12.5% of the time. That is a large amount of the time for CeeDee Lamb to be the optimal captain. So certainly in play there.
Chris D. CD is projected as chalk, LOL. No, he's not. He's the fourth highest owned player on a one-game slate. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you were to think about the Sunday main slate with 11 games on it, you had Josh Jacobs, you had Samaje Perine, you had who else would have been? David Montgomery. You had like guys who were projected out a certain way. If you're the fourth on a list in a one-game slate, you are not chalk. Stop it. Why do people do stuff like this? That's so stupid to say. He's not chalk.
Thanks. Now you've made Eric mad.
God, refresh your ownership. How about that, Chris? No, I just refreshed it. He's the fourth highest owned utility optimal guy. You look at the captain optimal percentage, sure, maybe he's right around the top there, but we're talking utility and people who have it for the entire game. He is fourth on the list. God, read the damn list. It's not that hard. He's not chalk now. No, he's not. God. All I can do is look at the projection, okay? I can look at the utility optimal percentage. Eric losing his mind. I'm upset. I literally do these shows and I try to be helpful and somebody comes in, CD's chalk. Dude, everybody's chalk to a certain extent. It's a one-game slate, but relative to the other top-end options, correct me if I'm wrong, Neil, is he the fourth highest owned out of the top-end options?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it, but I believe you.
God.
Yeah, I mean, he is chalk, though. That guy's right.
Jordan Klein, best captain for cash. We got that from Jay Jones. I just woke my dog up. That just happened. $4.99 from Jay Jones. Best captain for cash. Go ahead.
Best captain for cash, probably got to be Dak Prescott. We've got him optimal the most of anybody. And as a quarterback, I mean, we've got him just barely above CeeDee Lamb, but Dak Prescott is actually cheaper than CeeDee Lamb, and he's the quarterback, which kind of raises his floor. I'd have to go with Dak Prescott. Do you see it any differently, Eric?
No, I don't. That's lovely. Guys, I'm always in a good mood. I want to win you guys money. It's just that when I read something and it's like you're attacking something that I say when I'm literally listing it off from our projections. I'm just saying. He's the fourth highest owned on a one effing game slate. I don't know what else you want me to say. That's not chalk relative to three other options on a one game slate.
I love it. Tara McBride, hey, just got here. Are you guys playing the CD chalk? That's good troll right there.
I feel like Phillip Rivers in that meme. 12 minutes to go. Hit the like button. Hey, that'd be really, really nice. Hit the like button. Eric's so mad this week. Vinny C. 2 crying marks with the green check marks. I'm just saying, I'm here to try to make you money. I don't have, I want to do these shows to be helpful, and I want to make sure that you guys have the best opportunity to be successful. And when people say stuff, it's just like, oh yeah, unleash the jigsaw. You're damn right. If Miami Mike sends it in, it might get a little bit weird, but just saying, we're ready to ride. We're ready to ride. Other options from the passing game wide receiver spot from the Cowboys side. We do have some interesting options. 1K people in the chat is just absolutely firing. Michael Gallup, Noah Brown. Those are really your only two. Kavonte Turpin. Not Turpin enough for the Turpin Club. Turpin. How are we feeling about Gallup and Noah Brown?
Like him quite a bit. So interestingly, we've seen Noah Brown played a lot fewer snaps in week 12 than he had in the prior, all year, actually. All year, his lowest snap count had been 75%. And then suddenly in week 12, he's playing 45% of snaps. And I can't really see any reason for it. Looking at the other wide receivers, doesn't look like anybody took a bite from his snap share, but for some reason he only played 45% of snaps in week 12. But Noah Brown looks fantastic in our tools. I'm kind of assuming that was just a fluke, and that going forward he's going to be back in that 70+% range in terms of snap share. We've got him looking great in the tools. We have Noah Brown at 2.5% ownership in the captain spot with a 5.1% chance to be an optimal. One of our better leverage spots is playing Noah Brown in the captain spot. And then the util spot, we also have some positive leverage, 18.4% projected ownership, 20.3% chance to be an optimal. I like Noah Brown quite a bit. I've been playing him. He has not done much for me, but I'm going to go right back to him again tonight at relatively low ownership. What do you think of Noah Brown here?
Noah Brown's interesting. I mean, he's just the other guy in the trio wide receiver core. I think he's just fine to get to. I mean, he's not pulling any kind of crazy ownership. I do prefer getting up to Gallup where I can. I think that Gallup is eventually going to have that big game where we kind of were reminded about how good he's been with Dak Prescott at the helm. And 8 targets, 5 catches, 63 yards. You add a touchdown to that. I always try to do that when I'm playing some of these single games. I always try to remind myself, what would have happened if that was a touchdown reception instead? If you had seen 17.3 from Michael Gallup, he would be massive, massive chalk, just throwing a touchdown his direction as opposed to, just the upside we've seen constantly from CeeDee Lamb or all these running backs getting there. I think Michael Gallup is probably the guy I want to get to a little bit more, considering Noah Brown is pretty close in ownership in the utility spot. I don't think I'm looking at captaining either of them, but Michael Gallup, I think I'm strongly preferring just in my builds over Noah Brown.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. I like them both quite a bit. I actually like both of them at captain, so I think we're a little bit different in that sense. I think that they're nice ways to save some salary so that you can get to some of the studs. Michael Gallup, we also have a little bit of positive leverage here, 4.8% projected ownership, 5% chance to be an optimal. I mean, that's about as neutral as it comes. And then in the util spot, 24% ownership, 25% chance to be an optimal. So Michael Gallup looks great as well. And we've seen him taking on a bigger workload. He played 76% of snaps in the last game. Yeah, I think Michael Gallup is certainly a great play at reasonable price tag and reasonable ownership. But I like Noah Brown as well. If he does only play 45% of snaps, that'll be kind of disappointing for me. I mean, we saw him come down a lot from where he had been all season. But again, I think that that's probably just a fluke. I have no idea what happened, why he played fewer snaps. I don't remember seeing any kind of injury or anything, but I'm assuming that he's going to come back up to play 70+% of snaps. And at 70+% of snaps in the better offense in this game, I think I'm going to have some interest in Noah Brown as well.
All right, Vinny C, $5 super chat. Eric's so mad this week. I'm doing great. I'm doing lovely. I'm having fun. Part of it is I just, wanted to vent a little bit. Jordan Klein's nervous. Why are you so nervous? I'm fine. What's going on? I'm not.
Well, what's he wrong about?
What am I wrong about? No, he's not. I just refreshed it. He is 4th highest still. 4th highest owned is Dak Prescott, Jonathan Taylor, Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb on DraftKings.
I'm also seeing Dak Prescott and then CeeDee Lamb and then Jonathan Taylor and then Tony Pollard.
Where?
In the single game tool.
I'm looking at their optimal percentages. Yeah, utility ownership, CeeDee Lamb now 42.8, 42.2. We'll see. Just get ready. If CeeDee Lamb's the highest owned player on this slate, I might have to go dig myself.
That's really what I'm cheering for at this point, is that CeeDee Lamb is going to be like 88%.
I give you a rooting
owned.
interest in the game, everybody.
That's right.
Jordan he is ready for it. So
we just cheer for the funniest outcomes, and the funniest outcome here would be CeeDee Lamb just being like 100% owned. Everybody's got him in the captain spot. That's what we really want here.
I hope he's mega chalk tonight. Oh my God, I can't even. Malcolm Revamp, $1.99. Eric, who you said for value for DK and FanDuel Cash? I never said that, but I can guarantee you 2 pieces on DK. I would definitely have in cash. I would have Brett Maher at the kicker spot, and I would have Dak Prescott as quarterback. There's no way, and in 0% of my builds, would I not have those 2 in cash. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, those are both great cash plays. I'm with you.
They're 11-point favorites, and it's Brett Maher, one of the best kickers in the NFL. On FanDuel, I'm going to say the exact same kind of thing. Let's see. Brett Maher, Dak Prescott. Yeah, those are just 2 absolute stone cold cash game locks for me today.
Yeah, I'm with it.
All right. We jump to anything else from wide receiver for you. We're going to go tight end.
No, I don't think. I mean, you Kevontae Turpin maybe in a 150 set, 1 or 2 lineups. You could maybe put him in there with the Dallas defense and hope for the double dip, but I'm not all that interested in Kevontae Turpin or Jalen Tolbert. He's let down my best ball teams all year. I'm not going to go there. He played 4 snaps in the last game, so I don't have a lot of interest in Jalen Tolbert either.
CD with the 10% spite and pump in ownership. I'm glad to have T McBee here. Dalton Schultz, Jelani Woods. Those are your 2 top tight ends in terms of ownership projection from the Dallas and Indianapolis side. They're both great plays, wouldn't you agree?
Sorry, say that again.
Dalton Schultz, Jelani Woods, both from
Absolutely.
The top two tight end options. I think it's pretty clear cut. Yes.
Yep, Dalton Schultz played 84%. I mean, he's the clear tight end one for the Cowboys. The Colts, I'd say it's a little bit less clear who is the TE one, but after the game that Jelani Woods had last time out, I suspect that he's going to be the guy that they run out there as a TE one. He played 64% of snaps in that game. His previous high on the season was 38%. So he's just kind of came out of nowhere to look like a stud tight end. So I'm less confident in Jelani Woods than I am in Dalton Schultz, but I do think that that's probably the way that it's trending, particularly with how well he played in that last game.
All right. We jump to other tight ends that we could look at. Kylan Granson, he's been very disappointing as a Colt. I thought he was going to be pretty decent in the NFL. I was wrong. Mo Alley Cox has been now Mo Alley Knox. There's no joke. I couldn't think of it. He's been bad.
Yeah, you tried with that joke. You tried like Mo Alley Cox.
Tried with a lot of things tonight, and it's not going well.
Yeah, Mo Alley Cox only played 34% of snaps in the last game. That really surprised me. I liked Mo Alley Cox in that last game. And then, of course, Jelani Woods just was playing better and kind of took over. I think Mo Alley Cox is still a viable play. Certainly, he's a good end zone threat. He's like 6'8", something crazy like that. Always a good boom bust, low owned option. So I think Mo Alley Cox certainly in play. But we do have Kylan Granson back to kind of muck things up. And that also mucks things up a little bit, potentially with Jelani Woods. We assume after his big game last time out that Jelani Woods is going to be playing, 60+% of snaps again. But there is a real possibility that they don't play him quite as much because they want to get all of these tight ends involved. So it mucks things up a little bit. I think Kylan Granson, another guy that you could play, I would, if I'm ranking them, I'm going to go Jelani Woods number one because we don't have him projected for a ton of ownership. So at low ownership, I definitely like the guy that I think is probably the TE one here, followed by then probably Mo Alley Cox and then Kylan Granson. I'm not going to be playing any Nikola Kalanick.
Seems fair. Lots going on in chat. Eric reminds me, I don't even know who that person is. I'm not going to say it in case it's somebody bad. Peyton Hendershot, I have a share of. Jake Ferguson, I have a share of. That's about all I can say about the tight end position.
Yeah, I these guys are playable. I think so. Schultz cleared the TE1, Ferguson and Hendershot. Ferguson played 48% of snaps in the last game, 50% the week before that. He's been on the field plenty. Hendershot has been playing just 35% and then 27% the past 2 weeks. But Hendershot is a little bit more involved in the passing game. I think these guys are playable, but I'm not playing them in my handful of lineups. I would play them probably if I'm playing 50 lineups. I'd have a couple shares of each of these guys.
All right, we jump over to kicker and defense to round out our lovely show. Brett Maher is a fantastic play. Chase McLaughlin, I will remember you. Chase McLaughlin, do you get it?
I do get it. Sarah McLaughlin. That's who you're singing there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Chase, I mean, these kickers look great, and they actually look great in the captain spot. People shy away from playing kickers in the captain spot because they think, they don't have the upside. Kickers at most are going to put up 15, 18 fantasy points. But it's what they do with the rest of your lineup. They're relatively inexpensive. There's a real chance that these kickers, Chase McLaughlin at 4,000, puts up a score that nobody below him comes close to. If he puts up 18 fantasy points and it's possible that nobody below him puts up more than 9. And then he's the guy that allows you to play Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and Michael Pittman and Dalton Schultz, or, put up a lot of other studs into your lineup. So you can play these kickers in the captain spot and then load up. I would be hesitant to use the entire salary cap if you do play a kicker in the captain spot, just because that's what most people are going to do. If they play Chase McLaughlin in the captain spot, they're going to then jam in all the studs that they can and use the full salary. So I would try to leave at least like $600 on the table if you are playing a kicker in the captain spot.
How about $6,200 to the Cowboys defense to round it out? Colts $3,200. Oh boy, the Cowboys are expensive and pulling 20% ownership. How do you feel about that from a showdown perspective to round out our show?
Honestly, it looks about neutral in our tools. Matt Ryan is a statue, and now he's going up against a really tough defense in the Cowboys. They might sack him 7 times, and he might throw an interception. Like, I get why the field wants to go to the Cowboys. They are a little bit too expensive, but we have them looking neutral in the util spot, a little bit over-owned in the captain spot, but I think it's a totally fine play against Matt Ryan.
All righty, my friend. What a fun show. Good stuff. Anthony Davis scored 55 points today against the Wizards. What? 55 and 17? I just noticed that. That's wild. You don't care?
I did not play any NBA DFS today. Have not been paying attention. I was just responding to Brad Clayton saying in before Neil has no idea what time the game starts at because I did fail to get my lineups in the last game. However, I do believe that was an actual CSV error. I think that I had them in before the lineups lock for what it's worth.
We all good here? I think we're all good here. I think we've done it. We've reached the end of our morning walk. Oh, we're past lock. That's good.
Yeah, good luck to everybody. I hope that you played. I hope that Noah Brown has a big game for us and plays 80% of snaps. I hope CeeDee Lamb is 100% owned.
I'm pulling up his ownership right now. Here. I have to know before we get out of here. I got to know just how popular he ended up. These are important things that I must know. Oh, probably turn off my TV then. That's something that I want to know. Is it going to pull up here in the... Nope, the ownership isn't pulling up yet on DK. Guess we got to go. Oh! Hold up. Let's see. We're getting spammed by that bot thing.
Yeah, it loves to spam us.
Whatever. It's saying loading error on my end. Whatever. We'll get ourselves out of here. Jordan Klein needs to go to bed. I need to record an NBA video. We'll be back with all the great NBA, NFL content tomorrow. That's for damn sure. Thanks to Jordan for filling in.
CeeDee Lamb, 90% ownership. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. No, he's 60% on. 60% owned. Fairly chalky.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. American Lindquist, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming to our lovely little show.